Hello guys, welcome to the next episode of Learn from Chess Blitz, the show for those who want to learn something new about chess. During the show I'm usually playing games, simultaneously explaining what I think about each and every decision, each and every move. I also tend to analyze each and every game after it finishes. So yesterday there were a lot of Spanish games, so a lot of Ruy Lopez. So I think I was a bit tired of playing Ruy Lopez. You were probably a bit tired watching this Ruy Lopez continuously. So I decided to actually experiment today a bit. And if you like the idea after the show, then probably we will stick to this. I will do this each and every Monday. So we will do the Monday, the day of experiments. So what do I mean? I'm going to play openings, strange openings, but some of them will be looking just okay. The point is that these openings will be outside of my opening repertoire. So this means that I will find myself in strange situations during each and every game. So I will probably spend more time so that you will have more chances to beat me, and it will be kind of fresh, I think, if compared to Ruy Lopez. That happens a lot in my practice. I do hope it will be interesting and still instructive. So there were also a lot of questions yesterday about how to make a challenge. So we are playing on elitechess.org. You just have to go here, find me among players. My nickname is Mostrovsky, and to make a challenge. So I love to play against viewers, and that is my primary goal, to play against you guys. So don't be shy, just make a challenge. And now, since we don't have challenges from viewers at the moment, I will make just a general challenge and we'll play against some random guys. And maybe just to warm up, I will choose the normal opening. And then when I will be playing against you, I will try to, choose openings that I usually do not play. So, here we go. Let's make a random challenge. And here is the first challenge, by the way, from John Capone, so I just, accepted. Why not? Here we go. So the first challenge is accepted. And f4, already, a strange choice. So usually I play d5 here. So let's try to play something unusual. Let's play e5 instead. So kind of Gambit. Not very good, I guess, but still deserves some attention. So I want to play g4. Okay, g3 prevents. g4, so what to do now? To play g4 anyway? Do not know. Let's play h5 instead. So I want to attack somehow. Doesn't look like a good idea for black in general, but well, can be playable. Let us check if it is. Already looks very strange, right? Bishop g2. Okay, let's keep attacking. So g3 is hanging at the moment, which is kind of good. So my idea is pretty simple. I want to capture on g3. Lovely bite. Hi Andre, nice to see you again. Thanks a lot. I'm happy that you are here as well. So let's take on g3. Looks like a pawn. Okay. So now I have a passed pawn on g3. Kind of good result of the strange opening. So now, how to get to the king, how to get to f2, let's say. This looks like a target. And still I have to continue development somehow. So maybe 97, knight g6, something like this. Maybe 97, knight f5, knight h4. This can be also an interesting idea, so let's play knight e7. I'm not sure that g4 gives me anything at the moment. So let's delay this thing. Probably we will play this a bit later. I mean, g5, g4 looks interesting. This will open up the H file. So this will definitely give me something. Okay, after queen d3, there is no threat of queen g6. Right? Because of my knight e7, so it controls the g6 square. So maybe I can simply play something like knight b to c6, creating a threat of knight b4. Because if I play bishop f5 here, there will be queen b5 check, for instance. Or even simple e2, e4. Yeah, so I think it's better to start with the development of this knight. And then we will see. Position looks crazy, absolutely. It's not a typical one. And that is good. That is exactly what I'm going to do today. So I want to achieve strange positions from strange openings. Yeah. So knight b4 is prevented. Bishop f5 leads to e4. Maybe it's not that bad, because after bishop f5, e4, and let's say bishop to g6 or something, this pawn will be pinned. I will have a chance to attack it later. Maybe I will have a chance to play something like queen d7 and castling long. I don't know. Does it really make sense? Because after bishop f5, e4, bishop g6, I will have a problem with activating my knight e7. So maybe it's better just to play, say, bishop to e6, to have bishop f7 in the response to queen g6, and then to play knight f5, knight h4, something like this. Or just g4 takes h1, and bishop takes g4. This can be also interesting. Now let's try this. Moreover, I have only 30 seconds on the clock. Got a dangerous situation already. There might be a problem with the king, of course. Hi, Kramnik student. So it might be a good episode, especially for you, because you were tired of this Ruy Lopez. So today I will avoid playing Ruy Lopez. So as you can see, I'm trying to play something strange. Something ridiculous. Yeah, interesting position. So I'm a bit afraid of queen h7. But my opponent decided not to play queen h7. Alright, so let's castle as well. Let's castle as well. Okay, so position is materially equal, I think. If I didn't miss anything. I have a passed pawn on g3. Which I think is not a decisive factor at the moment, but could become very soon. So to exchange this guy or not? No, I think at the moment it's not possible. Let's simplify a position a bit. Just to clarify the things, because I still have some problems with the time. I have to be a bit faster, but I think now, well, white is just better. So, white definitely wants to play e4, but at the moment it's probably not possible because of hanging d4 pawn. And I think I can take on f3 now and take on d4. If I'm not mistaken, this gives me extra pawn. Might be very good. Yeah. I guess this simplification will be just okay for black. Because after that, the bishop f3 will be kind of in trouble. Oh, okay. This is a big blunder because of this queen g1 and queen takes e1 next move with the checkmate. Okay, so not bad for the start. Let's have a look at, well, what happened in this game. So f4, the bird opening. I usually react with something normal like d5, knight f6, g6, bishop g7. So it was probably not necessary to play this e5 because f4 is already a strange looking thing. But I decided to make it even more complicated. This, yeah, ugly looking position after bishop takes d6. I mean, white has an extra pawn. Black is not like heavily attacking here or something, but without this f pawn, the king feels not very comfortable, right? Because of the weakness of this h4 e1 diagonal. So there is a threat already of playing queen h4 with a checkmate and so on. So I'm sorry, there is already a problem. Knight f3 is just a normal move, but it leads to g5, well-known trick. I do believe that g3 immediately is possible and just okay, but after g3 I can continue with the h5. So black has some tricks here. I have no idea how to play this, but well, what I know from my childhood is that especially in blitz, it is quite hard for white to play this. So there is a very good trick. Well, everybody knows that. For example, h3 preventing g4 leads to checkmate immediately after bishop g3. Very cool. But g3 is a correct reaction after h5. d4 is also a good move. f6. And most likely here, it was much better for white to start playing aggressively in the center. So, for example, queen d3, great instead of queen g6, already annoying, honestly. After knight e7, it's possible to play c4, great instead of c5. There is also e4 move, very strong one, just intending to play e5. So I think this sort of play like f6, g5, and so on is not justified here. If white reacts with a quick attack in the center, this kind of golden rule, right? If one of the sides attacks on the flank and doesn't control the situation in the center, well, it is a good idea to come up with a counter-attack in the center. It is the best thing you can do, usually. So bishop g2 gives me a chance to play h4. And here there is already a problem with the g3 pawn. So if you take on h4, for example, I can play g4, attacking the knight, and then I take on h4 with sort of attack. Moreover, g4 forces the knight to the ugly position. So it definitely gives black some chances, I mean. So knight c3 takes on g3. Here, I guess, black is already not worse. After h3, yeah, for sure. I guess everything is fine already. So I played knight e7, maybe not the best move, but the point is that black already has some counter chances. Because of this pawn on g3, it is kind of long-term factor, so it's a very annoying one. Still, I think if white plays aggressively with the e4, e5 at some point, he can also achieve a very good position. But, well, the point that white could have achieved much better one. Alright, thanks for the game. Not bad one to start with. Let's go further. EM Ashur. Let's play. Still with black. Let's see. Let's see what can I play. E4. All right, so no E5 today. Let's start with the D5. And queen takes D5. So it's not the opening I usually play. I never play this, well, when I play a normal tournament game, that's for sure. And knight F3, okay. D4 is the main move. I have a feeling that I can react with the aggressive E5. Let's check. E5, bishop B5, C6. Yep. I think I can develop my pieces aggressively here. Yeah, D3, too passive, I guess. Oh well. There is a bishop D2 idea. There is a bishop D2 idea. But I think it's not very dangerous, so let's keep developing the pieces. Bishop E2. Should I play bishop G4 here or not? Well, might be interesting. Very active position for the bishop. Simple bishop E6 is also playable. But let's put the bishop on G4. Maybe to provoke white to play H3. No, white doesn't want. So now knight E5 might be a threat. So maybe it makes sense for me to protect the bishop. And now there is a question, to go away or not to go away with the bishop. Interesting one. Most likely I have some sort of initiative if white takes on G4. But I'm not sure if this initiative will be enough to compensate the missing minor piece. So maybe it makes sense just to go away because actually I achieved what I wanted. So I provoked white to play H3 and this will be kind of hook for me in the future. So let's go away. Now I'll try to arrange something like F6, G5, G4 at some point. Yeah, bishop D2, natural development move. Okay. So I think it's time to castle. I don't think I blunder something, but everything can happen today. Because I'm just experimenting with positions I'm not familiar with. Okay, knight E4. I guess queen D5 should be played. Centralizing queen. Well, re-centralizing it. It was already here on D5 once in this game. C4. Well, actually forces me to E6, the only move. But I think it's okay. So if knight... Oh, this is a great blunder. Just capture the piece. I expected something like knight G5, where I have queen E8. And if knight F3, G5, then queen G6. Protecting everything, then continue with the plan. F6, and so on. Attacking on the king side. Well, my opponent says in chat, oops, too many blunders. Well, it's actually the first one. But very serious one. Yeah. Happens. So let's put the queen on G6 now. Just active position. I want to take on H3 with the bishop. A3 gives me a chance to take. Let us do it. Now there is a sort of a checkmate on G2. And it doesn't feel like white has a satisfactory defense here. Okay, let's finish the game with the checkmate on g2. Alright, so actually, after queen d5, knight c3, and queen a5, white has to play d4. Of course, d4, the main move, controlling e5 square, occupying the center, so developing the pieces on active positions. Bishop should go to c4, knight to f3, intending to occupy e5, just a standard play against Scandinavian. So white has to try to punish black for this maneuvers, so the queen in the early stage of the game. Now that's the point. So it's not possible to do with the help of this passive play. So knight f3, e5, d3. It's playable. It's probably gives white a good chance to equalize, but well, not more. I don't think that after d3 black has even a single problem, and black can easily play for a win. All right. Thanks for the game. Let's go further. There are not so many challenges today, so yep. Let's go further. Heraldry, 5 minutes. And again with black. What is going on? Do not understand. Knight f3. Well, it's very hard to play something unusual against knight f3, but let's try to do this. I usually don't play positions with the bishop on g7. So there are two types of players. Well, actually three types, but let's simplify it and imagine there are only two groups. So the first group consists of players that prefer light squared fianchetto, and the second one is the dark squared fianchetto lowers. So I'm definitely a member of the first group. So I usually, if I do a fianchetto, I do this on the square b7 if I play with black. So I have never played Grunfeld, I have never played Pertz, I have never played King's Indian Defense whatsoever. I mean, over the board during the serious tournament and so on. So in blitz, of course, especially when you play, for example, 1 minute game, you can play whatever you want. And today, as I said, I'm trying to come up with some experiments. So why not to try this position with the bishop on g7? Of course, there is a problem because I don't feel this position correctly. So I will try to play basing my decisions on intuition, and I'll just try making normal, healthy, active moves. For example, here I can see that white gives me a chance to occupy the center with pawns. So why not to do this? And I can play d4 even if I want. Do I want to play d4? Or is it better to start with knight e7? I don't know, why not? Let's play d4. Just grabbing the space. Let us imagine we're playing with white here. So why not? Actually, white decided not to play active chess. Well, let's compensate it with the active play with black pieces. So now it looks like one of the lines of King's Indian Defense reversed. So imagine white chooses g3 line against King's Indian, and that is exactly what we have here, but with changed colors of pieces. But the type of positions is exactly the same. So I have more space already, and it feels like my pieces placement is also very logical and comfortable. I control most important squares. Well, there is a problem with the bishop g7, but it's a typical problem, so it's a bit passive at the moment. But, well, it protects e5 pawn, which is kind of most important pawn in my position here. Bishop d2. Okay, still passive, but Why not? So let's castle. Let's complete the development. After queen c1, I will have king h7, for instance, protecting h6. Okay, h3 instead. And maybe it makes sense for me to play b6. Because at some point I will be willing to play a6, b5. And it is a correct order of moves, b6, a6, b5, because if I start with the a6, then white can play a5, fixing my pawn b7 and preventing this counterplay forever. Moreover, getting this great b6 outpost for the knight. So b6 first, then a6. Now if white plays a5, I just react with the b5 immediately. c3. Okay, white tries to find the active counterplay. Maybe there is already a problem with this. So cd4, the first moment when the decision is not obvious to me. So knight takes d4 deserves attention, as well as c takes d4. Just a typical capture. So knight takes d4, queen takes d4, attacking d3. Is it possible? Let's say bishop c3, queen takes d3, knight takes e5. Yeah, it's not clear. It's not clear. So instead I will take with the pawn. Let it be so. The question, do you want to have black or white? Well, doesn't really matter. At the moment I'm playing only with black pieces, don't know why. But well, would be not bad to play something with white as well. But it doesn't matter really. So make a challenge with random color settings. b4. So white has something now on the queen side, but c3 is weakened after this move. So it is a long-term weakness, and maybe I will have a chance to exploit it one day. First, let's activate the pieces. The question from Tom Smith. What do you recommend versus Sicilian Taimanov? It's very hard to say what do I recommend, but I would try to master some lines with castling long. In my opinion, it is interesting, at very least. Okay, queen a3, what to do now? It's very tempting to improve the position of the bishop g7 somehow, but I'm not sure how. f5 looks very tempting as well, but this opens up the e-file, so it might be kind of double-edged move. Bishop takes c4 also can be considered here, by the way. So it's possible to take on c4, let's say, and then to play a4. Interesting. Let's try f5. So pawn structure says it should be a normal decision. So it's just a normal move when you have such a pawn structure. So after e takes f5, you recapture with the pawn. You have some interesting possibilities in the center after that. But this is, of course, a double-edged decision because it gives your opponent some counterplay along the e-file. Diagonal h1, a8 becomes open, so bishop g2 becomes active, and so on. So there are some drawbacks as well. But this is kind of a mistake, I think. I can take on e4 now. If d takes e4, then bishop takes c4. And if rook takes e4, then after bishop d5, it looks like I win some material. Probably white will have a compensation for this material, but still, it is an extra material. It was interesting for white to try b5, maybe. But after b5, I wanted to capture on c4 first, prior to going away with the knight. Yeah. So 40 seconds, right? And we have 5 minutes pure, so without increment, so I have to be faster now. Have to be faster a bit. Probably not the best move for me. I mean, this a6, kind of strange decision, but now we will try to simplify position somehow, or at least to open it up for my rooks. Oh, wow, big blunder. All right, so let's have a look quickly on what happened in this game. So knight f3, g6, g3, bishop, g7, bishop here, c6, kind of very strange approach. It's quite typical against e4 on the first move, but well, here it's a bit strange. So I would recommend to try c4 against it. Not sure if it is the best move, but after d5, it is most likely possible to play d4. So it will be not so easy for white to prove something in this opening line. I think it is quite solid for black. White has to be careful about this possibility. d5 takes c4, so if compared to normal Catalan, here we can see that the bishop is also quite active here on g7, exerting pressure on d4, and so on. So might be not that simple to get the advantage, but still, I think it's much better when you have a chance to occupy the center with pawns to do that. So I do appreciate this. Yeah. So d3 was a bit passive in my opinion, so I just played d5. Normal move, occupying the center, and it is quite logical against this fianchetto. As we can see, bishop on g2 is now kind of restricted with my pawn chain, b7, c6, d5. And when white played castling, I just played e5. And I think black is already doing very well. As a general advice, I think that it's better for white to base his play on this c2, c4 undermining move rather than on this e4, because after e4, well, this guy becomes really passive. And after d4, it's very hard to activate it. So it is a typical King's Indian bishop, as I said during the game. So we have kind of King's Indian reversed here. So yeah, it's possible to play even this, of course, but I think instead of doing this knight e2, knight c4, what white did in the game, it's better to prepare f4 quickly. So typical King's Indian move, right? So for this purpose, the knight has to go somewhere to e1 maybe. It's also possible to play h3, knight h2, and then f4, maybe knight f3 to d2, but the point is to try to play f4 as soon as possible, and then white will have an interesting play. That's the point. All right, when you block your bishop like that, what are your thoughts on how to make it active again? The question from Matthew Cooper. I mean, here, of course, I want to play f5. So I want to get rid of this blockading pawn. So as we can see, my bishop is actually limited with own pawns, e5, d4. And e5 can't move because it is blockaded with the e4. So e4 is kind of main obstacle here. And this means that f5 becomes very interesting and natural long term, just to try to get rid of this e4 pawn. Also, it is usually a good idea if you have a chance just to exchange such a bishop. So sometimes it's possible to do something like h5 and bishop h6, exchanging it for this guy. And you solve the problem of this passive bishop, also kind of possibility here. All right, let's go further. So here is Minkel, or Minkel, don't know. Let's play, and again with black. Yeah, it's a complete hell today. I'm playing only with black pieces, but all right. So in the previous game against d4, I played d5. Let's try, I don't know, knight f6 here. So, okay, knight c3, actually, white doesn't want to play e5, right? Let's play d5 then. It's kind of typical reaction, I think. So, takes d5, takes d5. This kind of better version of Scandinavian, maybe, or maybe not. Don't know. Have no idea. So let's take on c3. Queen f3, creating a threat of queen f7. Is it a checkmate there, by the way? So can I play knight a4? No, I don't think I can play knight a4 because of at least queen f7 followed by bishop b5 and takes on a4. So I have to protect f7, which means I have to play e6 more or less. Okay. Now let's keep developing my pieces. a3, preventing bishop b4 or knight b4. Maybe wasn't necessary, because I didn't have a chance actually to play bishop b4 or something because of queen g7. Yeah, Chronic Student says transpose to Rai Lopez. Wasn't already possible after knight c3 because if I would play e5, well, there could have been 4 knights or Vienna Gambit or something like this, but no longer Rai Lopez. Moreover, I decided not to play Rai Lopez today. Come on, what are you talking about? So queen g5, attacking g2 looks interesting now. Queen d4 as well, very active possibility. Let's try queen g5. Have no idea, but this looks natural because I protect g7. Attack g2, of course, that is my main plan, just to capture this guy on g2. But after protecting this g7, I can develop my dark squared bishop somehow. So maybe also it's possible to play bishop d7 and castling lawn. Interesting position. Interesting. So both sides have 2 pieces developed, which means that white already doesn't have the advantage in development, which is good, which is a result for black. And now, so c7 is hanging. Maybe not really because of g2. So I mean, should I take on g3 necessarily, or it's possible just to play something like queen g6? Queen g6 is also the move. Yeah, maybe it makes sense to wait a bit. So I'll play queen g6. I want white to take on g6, in fact. Just opening up the h file for my rook. And I also attack c2. And c2 is definitely hanging because my g7 is protected. So if white takes on c7 now, I think I just take on g2. Yeah, d3 protecting c2, but what about knight d4? Knight d4 is kind of annoying move, or at least could be annoying. Just creating a threat of knight c2, or maybe it's too much. Don't know. Let's play bishop d6 instead. So h2 is hanging now. Knight f3 protects it, simply. And also controls d4 square. Alright, so I think we simply have just a, yeah, absolutely balanced position. Let's keep developing pieces then. What else can I do? Castles. And now, what do I want to do in this position? Maybe to play f6, g5, just grabbing some space on the king side. I can play knight e5, simplifying the position a bit. Knight takes e5, bishop e5, d4. And white has a bit more space, but maybe this d4 will be kind of object of attack for me. Don't know. Position is absolutely equal. I have no idea how to improve it at the moment. Let's try knight e5. I think if white takes on e5, bishop e5 and plays d4, then the bishop on e3 will be, well, more or less passive, right? My bishop on d7 is also passive, but I can improve it with the help of this move. But still, I think black has nothing here. Absolutely. So position is absolutely equal. Let's try to come up with some maneuvers. You know, rook h5. a7, well, it was possible to take on a7, but b2 was hanging as well at that moment. So, rook d2. Whew. Don't know. There was simply nothing. So let's try something. So the question about pawn structure, well, it's not really a big deal, honestly. So these doubled pawns don't harm black's chances to create a passed pawn. There are no chances at the moment. White can't really exploit this slight drawback, so I think pawn structure is absolutely alright for black. I'm just answering the question of Kramnik student in chat. Bishop f1. So as we can see, I'm just trying to create some micro threats, because I can't achieve anything serious here. So we have same colored bishop ending. So in general, it makes sense to put pawns on dark squares for me. To put the king in the center makes more sense, I guess, here. Let's put it here. So I want to have my king somewhere on e7 here. But there is still nothing. Okay. At least I try to grab some space, right? So another question, does blitz actually help beginners to improve? Well, I don't know. So I would definitely not play a lot of blitz very near shoes. So I will avoid playing, yeah, just too many blitz games. But sometimes it's a good idea just to sharpen your mind, to sharpen your tactical vision, to actually train your intuition and so on. It makes sense also to analyze your blitz games. So if you don't analyze your blitz games, then of course it makes no sense at all. Okay, position has been changed a bit. Is there a chance for me or not? Don't know. Let's see. I guess I'm a bit more active here. So maybe there are some tiny chances. So Kramnik student says Andre has to play like Carlsen to win this. Well, I have to play better than my opponent to win this. It will be not that easy. And this is kind of improvement for black, because black now has this good pawn mass. Maybe it's still nothing, but it definitely gives me some chances. I have a feeling. Still, it's almost impossible to achieve anything here. Oh, that was a blunder. My opponent didn't take the pawn. I was lucky. Of course, there was a d5 move, kicking my rook away. And then, yeah, then just taking b6. Now I have some chances. Because of better situation on the clock mainly. And kind of extra pawn here. Yeah, now I take on f3, then rook f4, so on. So black already has winning chances in this position. But of course it was a dead draw. Very important moment here. Of course we both made mistakes, but that is kind of a mistake. So it still doesn't make white's position lost whatsoever. Of course it's still a draw, but after c takes d5, as we can see, black has at least an interesting plan of just playing f6, e5 at some point. So this pawn math, as you can see, a lot of pawns working together and just pushing further and so on. Just have a look at Capablanca games, old Capablanca games. So classic examples when he managed to win the rook endgames, which were looking just dead drawish, mainly because of this really slight advantages, like a bit better pawn structure, a bit more active rook, and so on. Yeah, so instead of taking on d5, it was much better to think of, I don't know, rook e4, for instance. So to try to get rid of this active rook, and maybe to improve your position with the help of c4, just kicking it away, maybe continue with a d5 at some point, and so on. Because, well, you also have pawns that can move, and your position is definitely no worse here. Your chances are no worse, so you can also try something active here instead of just staying and waiting a bit. But then after cd5, rook e5, and here you correctly played c4, because if you wait here, I just play e5 myself and start thinking of winning the game for sure now. And after c4, I don't know, maybe my best chance was still to play e5. I wasn't sure at all if it gives me anything, because it weakens my pawn structure. I have just torn pawns after that. That's why I played here, but, well, here, there is nothing. So I just tried dc4 to change the position, but, yeah, objectively speaking, it's drawish. It's absolutely equal. Here I played e5, and here you had a chance. So after d5, you have a serious advantage because you just grabbed this b6 pawn next move. That was your chance. Okay, let's keep playing. Here is Ricardo. Let's play Ricardo. And white pieces, finally. All right, so let's play b3. Let's keep experimenting. Have never played b3 over the board. This board is virtual one, so why not? Let's play this. So it's Larsen. Larsen and Simagin. c4. And it can be that there will be just a hedgehog. Again, reversed. So let's see. I can play knight f3 now. I can play a3. I think a3 is interesting. Very flexible move. Covering b4 square and preparing queen to c2. So if black plays d5 at some point, after cd5, knight e5, we will have kind of Sicilian position. And as I said before, a hedgehog. So I will put my pawn on d3. And when you play hedgehog, Of course, queen on c2 is kind of typical square. And as you can see, how it was useful to cover b4. So now queen on c4 feels very comfortable. Be not afraid of knight b4 or something. The most efficient setup against the hedgehog is usually a Marozzi bind, so black needs a pawn on c5 to build up this position. But pawn is on c7, so gives me more chances. So it's kind of, yeah, Taimanov reversed maybe even. Knight to f3 looks natural, since black has no this e4 move. So instead of hedgehog, probably I will think of even bishop c4, bishop d3 moves. Those are all possible. Typical for Taimanov, Sicilian Taimanov. For example here, bishop d3 looks very interesting. Attacking h7, and if black plays something like f5, then bishop c4. Can be nothing absolutely for white. So let's start with knight c3 instead. Now I'm kind of thinking of knight e4, f5, bishop c4 check, king goes to h8, knight jumps to g5. Is it an interesting position? Yeah, I think it can be interesting. So let's try it. At least we provoke black to play f5 to weaken this diagonal a bit. a2, g8. Alright, black decided not to weaken it. Pinning my knight e4, I think I can play bishop d3. Because knight b4 is nothing, I just take it. But now I have to be careful not to play b4 at some point, because bishop b4 might be the move within the material. But at the moment I think I have a positional threat. Oriental Heart 1 says, well, short time in general for me causes disasters. Alright, so if you feel not comfortable with the short time, then just avoid playing blitz. It's okay. It's not a shame. There are a lot of players, even on the top level, that play just awful blitz. It's not a problem. For example, world champion Botvinnik played very bad blitz if compared to his strength during playing classic control games. So not a problem, not a big deal. So bishop on f5 is now protected. Can I attack it with the knight h4 here? If I play knight h4, bishop takes c4, bishop takes c4, f5 is possible. There is also a very tempting thing of playing g4 now. But bishop takes g4 is unclear. Do I achieve anything there? I'm not sure. Maybe just to play h3 preparing g4. This can be also an interesting idea. So let's try it. h6. Now I guess g4 makes sense. And now I guess knight f6 is kind of very natural thing. Alright, knight f6, takes f6, takes h7. At the very least I have very good pawn structure and pair of bishops. That is what I wanted to achieve. Okay, great. So now I think it makes sense just to go away and look at this f5 square. Very delicious. Yeah, light squares in general are very, very weak in black's camp. Yeah, just a perfect result for such an opening, right? Of course, my opponent played not the best way, but still. And by the way, that is how it works. You may notice that I usually try to compare positions with absolutely different openings, even sometimes with yeah, thinking about this reversed pawn structures and so on. So even if you play in a position that you have no idea how to play, so something new, try to find actually some some things to base your decisions on. So try to recognize some patterns anyway. So for example, here I realized that it is just like, well, in Taimanov reversed. And I know what is Taimanov because I played many games against Taimanov. So I can remember some typical ideas. And I just start playing the same way, right? Using knowledge I already have. Yep. So sometimes you find yourself in a position that you absolutely don't know how to play, and it is not similar to anything. But still, it's not the reason to panic and actually to be nervous. So just keep playing and everything will be fine. All right, rook b8. Rook b8. Knight h4 looks natural. But then what? What do I want to achieve here? Yeah, it's possible just to bring the knight to f5. Should be very good. h5 is also a nice square, but it takes a long time to get to h5, I think. So it's better to play this straightforward chess. f4 at some point. Or maybe h4, g5. Just an explosion. Queen c6 deserved attention. Instead of knight e6. But even in the endgame, I think white is much better. So here, to take on c6 or not, I think it's not necessary. Let's just focus. Let's just focus on the king's side. The knight is almost trapped here. Yeah, now it's trapped. Yep, lost. Is you reading the chat? Yes, I do. I read the chat. JK lol OHK. So, can I challenge you again? Kind of like, how fast can you checkmate Larsen? Not really. So I actually want to play different players, but since we don't have challenges at the moment, so yeah, no challenges. You can challenge me again. Why not? So another question from Word20. How can I challenge you? You just go to leechess.org, find me among players online. You can see my nickname is Mostrovsky, and you just challenge me to 5 minutes or 3 minutes, so whatever you want. So let's have a look on what happened in this game quickly. So b3, e5, bishop b2, knight c6, e3. So I usually prefer playing knight f6 here immediately, when I play with black, I mean. And after bishop b5, attacking this e5 pawn, there is an interesting trial, bishop d6. So I play this with black, I mean. And if white takes on c6, d6, we deal in many cases with the position very close to actually, Ruy Lopez, my favorite Ruy Lopez. Okay, so in our game, what happened in our game? So I played c4. I think a6 is just a waste of time, to be honest. And after this, d5, as we can see, we have this Taimanov hedgehog possibility reversed with changed colors. And since white has extra tempo and a6, which is usually not typical if you play against Taimanov, I think, well, white is at least no worse. Maybe white is even a bit better. Well, if compared to normal Taimanov. So here, knight e7. I think knight takes c3 was better, or maybe just knight to b6, accurate move. But knight e7 is kind of not very good square. So I played knight e4. Now f5 deserved attention, but after f5 I wanted to place it like knight g5, bishop c4 check, so on. After bishop f5 and bishop d3, there is a threat, as we can see, of playing knight f6. Which I think was possible to parry with the help of just bishop g6 move. So as we can see, bishop is protected. There is just a threat of playing f5 at some point. So white has to make a decision. I think that g4 makes sense here, just a typical Sicilian move. Controlling f5 square, preventing this f5 e4. And if black makes this breakthrough, f7, f5, I just take on f5 and I control e4 square. So great outpost. The knight goes to g5 at some point and so on. But in this particular case, maybe it's okay to play f5, but still, you have to be ready to meet this bishop c4 and knight g5 idea. Okay, so let's continue. Playing. There are some challenges, and well, I actually promised, I promised Oriental Heart 1 to play one more game, so let's play it. And then we'll continue with guys I didn't play today. Or tonight, it's better to say. So, bishop f4, d5. Well, I forgot about my experimenting mode today. Sorry for this, but, well, just, I want to play at least one game. Just making normal moves. So, queen b6, attacking b2. Yeah, let's make a break, on this experimenting. So can I play bishop f5 here? I'm not sure, but it should be possible, right? It's kind of a bit annoying to be trapped somewhere there, but yeah. My opponent decided not to risk. Knight e4, queen c1, cd4, c4, rook c8, something like this. Looks interesting, so let's bring the knight to the active position. Maybe even g5 is playable here after queen goes away, just like in Scandinavian. Again, I'm trying to recognize patterns in positions that are far from the openings I mentioned. So, for example, who cares about Scandinavian when you play against London system? But yeah, this is a blunder. I just take on g5 with the knight. I'm not against a simplified position after that, so I have extra minor piece. And I think no problems with converting this. So let's put the bishop on d6. Word 20 says, I'm on Lichess, I can't find you. So, as far as I remember, you have to go to, just a second, learn, play, community. Yeah, you have to check community players. There you can just type Mostrovsky nickname, and yeah, you'll find me. Then you just click on Mostrovsky, and there will be a possibility to make a challenge. I think this helps you, Word 20. Okay, let's castle. I have found you. Great. Now you can make a challenge. b3. So you wanted to be checkmated, right? So let's try to satisfy this. Let's come up with the attack. h2 is under attack. Takes. Let's continue the attack. So you wanted a checkmate, right? So let's try to do this. The pawn is going to be a queen next move. Or maybe I will make queen g1. It depends. Queen g2. Okay, h1 should be played here. Where is the checkmate? So queen takes g. Okay, no checkmate. All right. But Vinik would get heart attack seeing this title, Learn from Chess Blitz. Yeah, true. Absolutely right. That was fast. Yeah, because, well, actually you gave me a chance to achieve a lot in the opening. Especially after g5, well, bishop g5 just... Yeah, that was too generous. So bishop g3 should have been played, where after I wanted to play h5. Just like in Scandinavian, with the knight in the center and the bishop somewhere here, just g5, h5. h4 is a threat, and if you make a move with the pawn, you weaken g3, and I can take there, and maybe then to come up with the counter-attack. Or maybe just with the attack against this g3. That's the idea. So patterns are everything. Actually, the more you know, the more knowledge you have, the better. That's a very obvious principle, but many players forget about it. For example, I've heard many times from some of my students the story like, why should I watch this game? They play the opening, I never play, and so on. That is why. Because the more you know, the better. Sometimes you can use the information from absolutely different area and apply it to your current position. Okay, let's keep playing. Let's keep playing. Oh, here is Koval. I think I know who is that. Word 20, Gambiter, Prush, Kramnik student. Well, quite good guys, all of them. So let's try first word 20 and white pieces. Okay. So I played b3, let's play g3 now. Another experiment. d5, bishop g2. And c4. Well, there is an interesting move in the style of Miles, queen c2. Well, he played that in English opening once against Gena Sisonko. As far as I remember, he played something like c4, and the second move was queen c2 or something like this, or after e3 and then queen c2. So he wanted to avoid opening preparation of the opponent, and well, he succeeded. Here it is, another story. g6, very natural reply, by the way, intending to put the bishop on f5. I think in this case it's better for me to play this d3. G3 is not really experiment, it usually transposes to regular openings. Yes, but at the very beginning of the show I said that some openings will be just normal openings. The experiment means that I usually don't play them. So I have no idea what to play in each and every position. So I'm kind of playing without preparation. That's the idea. Yep. So bishop g7. Okay. Andre, can you recommend some game collection book which covers must-know classics? That's an interesting question. I have to think about it. Yeah. Yeah, probably Kasparov's my great predecessors. I don't know the better one. It definitely covers the all must-know classics. And it is well annotated. So what do we have here? Kind of English opening or something. Yeah, hard to tell. Very hard to tell. It's kind of a mix of different openings. But okay. So bishop e6. Now, it's very tempting to put the queen on h4. But first, I want to try queen b4. But after queen b4, there is queen b6. I guess it's just fine for black. So let's try to play with the queen on h4. Gives me a chance to put the bishop on h6, to exploit some weaknesses in the opponent's camp, and so on. Grandmaster Tournament, Zurich 1953. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely great thing. So Chronic Student says, it has been a long time since I read a chess book, just online videos and blitz games. So maybe it's better for you then to start with some periodicals. So I recommend New in Chess, for example. Just a beautiful magazine. Beautiful magazine, so a lot of annotated games and well, modern games mainly. A lot of materials for learning, for club players, so very nice. Very nice. Queen h5, alright. Now I think queen b4 starts making sense, because it is a tempo move attacking b7. And at the same time, I control e7, so castling will be not that simple for my opponent. Of course, queen takes h5 would have been a great help to my opponent solving main problems. b6. Okay, so now diagonal g2 a8 becomes weak. Maybe I can exploit it even right away with a knight d4, can I? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. There is also some problems with the queen here, so maybe it's better to try to exploit the position of the queen instead. Because I will be happy to see something like queen c5 or queen a5. Just capture that queen with pleasure, damaging the pawn structure on the queen's side. Just without much thinking even. Yeah, let's take it. Looks very good for white now. Should I blockade c5 pawn or not? I think it is a good idea, so let's make this active move knight e5, combining two ideas. So, to attack c6 and to prevent c4. Bishop d7. I'll put my knight simply on c4. Good blockading square. Castles. And what about bishop e3? Just attacking c5. It feels like something should drop very soon. Black simply has very, very weak pawns. For example, what about just knight a4, attacking this c5 one more time? Well, maybe it's not the best decision, but okay, works good. Now e7 is hitting, a7 is hitting. To grab this one more pawn, why not? Because b2 is still protected, right? Now bishop d4, just preventing counterplay. Intending to exchange the dark squared bishops if knight f6 goes away somewhere. I have 2 extra pawns and great chances to win. Take it. There are 2 ways here. Too many ways, I wanted to say. But 2 ways in the sense of castling or not castling, so I guess it makes no sense to castle here. I'll just keep my king in the center. It's already an endgame stage and black has no resources to attack it, so makes no sense to run away. f6. Okay. Let's make the life of this knight just an awful thing. Okay, I have a bad bishop, but it doesn't really matter because I have 2 extra pawns. And I have a chance to improve my bishop easily. Let us keep just simplifying the position. Let's cover the first rank. It was stupid. That is a blunder. So again, the same question about if I speak Russian. Yes, I do, but it is an English-speaking broadcast, so it doesn't matter. I mean, yeah. Okay, so in this game, what happened? Here, after g3, d5, bishop g2, and this, I don't think that d5 takes c4 is a good idea. It was much better to keep this central pawn and simply continue the development with the help of bishop g7. So knight f3, well, bishop g7 was actually played, but after knight f3, this d takes c4 happened. Instead, simple castling was much better in my opinion. Because in this case, black controls the center much better and white has way less opportunities to achieve something in this position. So I have to work hard here to activate my pieces. That's the point. If compared to what happened in the game, I just maneuvered my queen quickly to h4, preparing bishop h6 and so on. I had already a chance to start pushing my pawns in the center and so on. Yeah, I would recommend simple castling. Let's say after castling, it's possible to play knight e7 preparing e5, just a normal way of playing it. It's also possible to play d4 if you want to play positions of Benoni type, again reversed. So white is kind of playing Benoni here. Not a modern Benoni, but this classic old Benoni line. But in my opinion, when we deal with such a bishop, Fianchetto one, it's better to keep pawns like this. So just, yeah, restricting the bishop, trying to prevent its activity along the h1, a8 diagonal. At the same time, as you can see, this bishop g7 has no real obstacles on the way, so you can gradually prepare some play on the queen side and so on. So every time when you want to make a decision like this, like d5 takes c4, think twice, because if you have a chance to keep the pawn in the center, in a vast majority of cases, it will be much better than this. Okay, so in our game, as we can see, I just had very comfortable position. And I think this maneuver in general, queen a5, queen h5, was just too much already. Bishop e6 was probably already not very good. I would recommend simply castling. And then quick development of this knight, maybe knight e7, knight b6, it depends. But the problem for black in this position is that it's very hard to find a counterplay. At very least, it's very hard to find anything really active because there is no center. There is no proper control over the center. While white has a chance to come up with d4, e4 at any moment he wants. There is also a big problem now with activating bishop c8. There is no good position, there is no concrete target, and so on. A lot of possibilities to put the bishop somewhere, for example, to e6 or f5 or g4, but each and every move makes no sense. I mean, it attacks nothing there. Yeah. And once you play b6 or something, you weaken diagonal and my bishop becomes a beast. Something like that happened in our game. So after bishop e6, this maneuver, and b6, the long diagonal became weak, and it was just a question of time. To activate my bishop and to exert pressure on c6 and so on. There is also another problem. So queen on h5 is kind of deprived of space, and after h3 there is already a threat of g4. Also there was a subtle threat of just putting the bishop on g5 first, and then continuing with the g4. That was really annoying. That's why probably you play queen c5. Otherwise, I would have played this bishop g5 or g4, also forcing you to a5 or c5. And after this, of course, white already has a strategically winning position because these pawns are not possible to protect. So I just attack them one by one, and at some point you simply have no chance to protect one of them. One of them just drops, and I win. Okay, let's continue with Prush. And again, white. So, very hard to experiment here, but let's play knight c3. I don't know. Stupid move. But now we have a transposition to something like Borisov. Maybe Dietmar Gambit. We should play with black, but let's try to play it with white. Let's see how it works. Aha. This is just a transposition to French defense. Maybe my opponent is a French player. Okay, here I have nothing better than just following the theory of French defense. So it will be kind of normal game. Okay. Magnus played knight c3, it can't be stupid. Well, it can be. Magnus simply can play what he wants, because he is the best player. It doesn't mean that, well, the move itself is healthy and great. Just playable, but not very smart, in my opinion. So now we have just the theoretic position from French defense. And looking at how my opponent spends the time, feels like he's not very comfortable. For example, queen b4 is not a move because it gives me a chance to play c3 with the tempo. So queen a5 with the same idea was much better. Now I have a feeling that I can simply take on c5. Let's check. Yeah, I guess knight takes c5 wins a pawn. If I'm not mistaken. Yes, should be just a pawn pro bono. So queen b4 is a mistake. Gives me a tempo. And now b4. Yep. b4, winning the piece. Just a fork. Simple fork. And bishop d2 saves me. Otherwise it could have been tricky. Alright, so black has only 2 pawns, which is not enough, for sure. I think that I have no problems with the simplification here. All right. No problems with that. Further simplification, so rook b1 attacking b7. And bishop to b5. Also giving my king a place on e2. Once again, it is already an endgame stage, so can't see the reason to keep the king somewhere on the flank. Moreover, it's not possible to castle here. Let's take it. Rook goes to b7, very pleasant invasion. Takes f7. g7 is hanging. Rook c1 is this right? I think rook c1 will decide the game right now. Because I take on c6 with check. And then, yeah. Checkmate very soon, or at least I will just collect all black's pieces. Feels like the time to resign. Okay, smart move. But it's still not enough. Still not enough. Check. Takes. Knight g5, winning e6. So, as I said before, I'm just collecting black's material. Too many weaknesses. And all the pieces are not coordinated. So now it's not a big problem for me to convert this. So it will be very interesting for me to know what do you think about this idea. So to play something not usual to me every Monday. Just every Monday, as a rule, will be an experimental Monday. So I'll try to force myself playing unusual, not typical positions, just to give you more chances maybe, and to show you the way how you think when you don't know the theory or something like this. Instead of knight a4 in the opening, did you consider a3 in the spirit of pawn variation? I would prefer this move myself to avoid putting the knight on the rim. Well, a3 is probably even not playable, so knight a4 is the main theoretic line. I don't remember how a3 is actually refuted, Maybe with a simple c takes d4, most likely. Knight takes d4 and something like queen takes b2 here doesn't work as well. There is something, I don't remember actually what, but a3 is definitely not the best move. Alright, so king d7, there are a lot of different ways leading to Rome here, but rook d6 doesn't look like the worst one. Let's just keep eating pawns here. Yeah, so queen b4 is a serious mistake. So this gives me just an extra tempo if compared to queen a5. So queen a5 is a series where after white plays c3, and there are two main moves here. So c takes d4, which leads to this interesting b4 line where black can put the queen on c7 or take on b4, sacrificing the piece. In this case, for 3 pawns. It's a different story, but this is considered a dubious line anyway. So white actually has a great stats there. So queen c7 is preferable here, but b6 is an interesting try. So after b6, white in many cases plays bishop d2, just being ready to meet c4 with the b4 move. And after this b4, there is also an interesting combination, this knight takes b4, cb4, bishop b4. Once again, sacrificing the piece only for 2 pawns, but here black has kind of a very good chance to start pushing these pawns actively and so on. So this line is was introduced by Daniel Friedman, international grandmaster from Germany, and his wife Anna Zatonsky, also famous woman, originally from Ukraine, by the way, from Mariupol. So Mariupol is the city near Donetsk, my native town, and she spent a lot of time in the United States of America. She still plays for American Federation. She represents American Federation, if I'm not mistaken. So she participated in the latest United States Championship and so on. So they both actually play this line. Not sure if they play this still, but they definitely played several games. Okay, queen b4 is a mistake. I just played c3 and now I just win the material after knight c5. So very ugly position, very ugly version of this queen a5 idea. But that is interesting how it was transposed. So after knight c3, d5, d4, knight f6, e4, I was trying to provoke black to take on e4 to play f3, this kind of crazy gambit. But after e6, well, we have a French defense. Good. Okay, let's see. Gambiter. There are a lot of challengers. So let's play Gambiter. Then probably Koval, then Crowning Student. So, do you know what to play here already? So, d4, the move that I don't play usually. So for me, it is kind of experiment. Let's see. So what people play here nowadays? Bishop g5, bishop f4, this sort of stuff. Still, let's try knight c3. c6, exactly the move that I usually play. Bishop f5, very, very nice. So black plays in the style of Caro-Kann, which is cool. Let's try to exert some pressure. In the style of one guy from Chess24, who usually plays this with white against me, playing with black. And I usually have problems. But I don't remember what kind of stuff he played last time. So let's try to make just natural moves. Kind of castling. I guess black is already fine. Very solid approach. Very, very solid one. Maybe queen e2 wasn't necessary, so immediate castling was probably much better. So question, isn't this gambit really bad for white? Well, if black knows what to do and if black plays correctly, then yes, should be very bad. And to be honest, that is the best way. My opponent demonstrates good knowledge. So let's keep developing pieces. I can't see anything else. So we kind of have position from Karakan, something like Karakan, but with the extra pawn for black. And feels like no compensation for white at all. That is kind of a bad experiment. For white, yeah, definitely queen e2 was a bad move. Because now d4 is hanging in many lines and it's annoying. Don't like this position. Okay, let's keep playing. And pretend that everything is alright. But it's not, of course. Well, well, well. Black simply has a winning position in my opinion. Yeah, queen e2 was definitely very bad move. Very, very bad. Because I have absolutely nothing here. Absolutely no chance to achieve anything. Only, yeah, something like a blunder can help me in such a situation. Okay, my opponent is greedy, so he takes the pawn, but this gives me two bishops and maybe some chances. So now I'm no longer that depressed about the perspectives of this position. Let's imagine I would have played this with black. I would have never ever captured the knight on h4 with the bishop e7, to be honest. So this pawn is not worse of giving up the bishop for this stupid knight on h4. The knight on h4 was really awful. Maybe it's still okay for black, but I definitely have some chances. It feels like that. So let's calculate some lines. Knight takes d5, cd5 most likely, h3, or queen g3 even. Maybe queen g3 right away. Queen g3 is an interesting move. Let's put the queen on this active attacking position. g7 is my target. The main target, I mean. And dark squares all of a sudden became very vulnerable in black's camp. But why all of a sudden? Black just gave up a dark squared bishop. Everything is logical. F5. Interesting. Kind of move that protects everything at the moment. But weakens e6. Okay, let us start with the h3 move. I think it is useful anyway. Bishop h5, well. And now what? Queen g5 gives me nothing, I think. Knight takes d5. I don't know if I want to take on d5 here or just to play rook to e1. Rook to e1 looks like a natural follow-up of white's kind of initiative. So just attacking e6. Bringing one more resource to the fight. And now this situation looks quite promising already. Not only because I have much more time on the clock, but also because I, objectively speaking, have some perspectives now. My position looks very active. Bishop on h5 is hitting, for instance. But again, somehow black manages to cover most obvious weaknesses. Now at very least I can take on d5 and take on f4. Reducing black's material advantage. Do I have anything better here? Don't know. Maybe rook e4 is also promising. Yeah, rook e4 looks a bit better. Then knight takes d5 right away. Now let us say queen g4, attacking the queen. And now knight takes d5. Rook takes f4 with a temple. Takes here. Bishop e7. Something like extra material, I think. Yeah, I won on time, but my position was already better. Actually, I do believe that the key moment here was bishop takes h4. That was too greedy. In my opinion, everything started with a knight b6 even, because knight b6 was obviously played with the idea of taking on h4 and then taking on d4. Maybe engine will simply say that it's okay, but from a pure human being point of view, from my point of view, it's a wrong idea, wrong concept to grab the pawn, but to give up the control over dark squares, giving me real chances. Because with this stupid knight on h4, I have no chances at all. I'm a pawn down, having no counterplay. So simple development like knight e7 followed by knight f6 will guarantee black's great advantage here. So just a normal carry-con with the extra pawn and with a very stupid pieces placement for white. Yeah, just very simple. Knight e7, knight f6, or knight e7, knight b6 followed by a5. So something very typical thing for carry-con, just with the extra pawn, right? And with this very strange knight on h4. So for me, the good moment to improve the play was exactly here. So queen e2 was wrong. Instead, it was much better for me to try knight e5, attacking f7, and after e6 to make castle. Because here I have a threat of knight takes f7 and rook takes f5. And what is interesting, both order of moves are both orders of moves are interesting. So both promise something. So here I guess bishop g6 or something should be played to prevent this. Where after I have some follow-ups, I think. At very least I can grab the bishop a bit later and to try to play with a pair of bishops. Still I think black is better, but well, it's much better than a position that I achieved with queen e2. Okay, so let's play Koval and yeah, and Kramnik student. And I think these two guys will be last ones for today. Koval, we played a lot on chess24. I played e4. What to play against you? Let's play e3. Stupid move, but not that stupid if compared to others. And let's say c4. And queen c2 again, in the style of Anthony Miles, just controlling f5 square. Of course, it's a different position, I do believe, but idea remains the same. Let's try b3 now. e5, very natural move. Just grabbing the space, right? Right. Why not? Well, it gives black a chance to grab the space. a6 preventing cd5, cd5, and b5 most likely. Alright, this can make sense. Now I can probably try rook to c1. Creating sort of cd5, cd5, knight e5, but this looks a bit slow. So maybe just to stick to knight f3. Knight f3 looks normal. But then e4 can be annoying. Okay, let's put the pawn on d3. I have nothing absolutely in this position. I think black can be satisfied completely with the results of the opening. I'm just trying to complete a development. So black has very comfortable setup here. There are a lot of different chances to improve the position. It's possible, for example, to play bishop f5, or maybe h6, preparing bishop f5. So having the bishop on this diagonal h7, b1 could have been a very good idea. And now I guess I will prepare for black's knight c5 move. b5, also a good idea. Also a good idea. So bishop will go to b7, I guess. So it feels like the best option for me will be to try to play the French defense or something after d4. So giving black a chance to grab the space with the e4, but it will be the lesser evil. There is also a possibility to play b4, I guess, right now. Still possible, but then I have to count with e4, I think. So if I play b4, this weak on c4, and black can play e4. Damaging my pawn structure, and c4 will be hanging, so I don't like this. Also, after b4, there is an interesting possibility to play bc4, dc4, then e4. This leads to very complicated position. To know what is the evaluation of it. I can also transform the pawn structure the following way. So to start with cd5, and for cd5 to play b4. Kind of trying to exploit the weakness of c5 long term. I'm also not sure if it will be a good idea for me. But let's try it. That's interesting. Maybe even this square can be the target for my knight f3. So knight e2, knight b3, knight a5 if the bishop is on b7. Kind of dreaming, right? So gradually we're getting to the end of the show today. I'm very happy that you join me each and every day when I'm online. So if you don't want to miss the episode, just do not forget to subscribe to my channel on YouTube. You can find the link just under my name. bit.ly/Mostrovsky. It is a short link leading to my YouTube account. Just subscribe there and do not forget to turn on notifications. This will send you the notification each and every time I'm online. Also, if you appreciated the idea in general to dedicate Mondays to these opening experiments, then just write it in a comment after the end of the show. So at the moment in live chat, you can also write something, but live chat disappears right after the broadcast is finished. So the best way is just to leave a comment in the resultant video that will appear in, well, several minutes. Usually it takes around 1 hour actually to process the video, and just leave the comment there. What do you think about this idea? Rook to d8. So now I think it's time to clarify the plans, to clarify the things. Let us go here. H2. Kind of target for my opponent's pieces. So I guess it makes sense to protect it. G3. I don't want to play D4. I want to try to use this square. Maybe that was a mistake, because it also gave my opponent a great outpost here on E5. Yeah, I guess black should be a bit better here. Maybe even much better. But black has some problems with the time. This gives me a great chance to blockade this d5. Sorry, yeah, d5 pawn. That was the most important thing to do. And now look at this guy on a8. It will be there till the end of the game. I will guarantee this. Yeah. Position was simplified, transformed to, again, the typical advantage. Very typical position for Queen's Gambit. A lot of lines. For example, Tarish defense, so on. So here there was a great moment for black. So I actually started playing quickly and, probably missing a lot of different resources. So I played g3, black played knight e5, absolutely correct move. And after knight b3, there was a simple way just to take on d3. And after bishop takes d3, knight jumps to c4. Great outpost for the knight, attacking the bishop. If I take on c4, black takes on c4 with a d5 pawn with pleasure, activating b7. If I don't take, well, it's just an annoying position. At some point, black can come up with a breakthrough, connect with a d5, d4, and so on. So, yeah, it was a good game call, but you were probably a bit slow. So, in a time trouble, you missed the chance to outplay me. And, well, Kramnik student. Let's play this game. And I'm playing with white. Look what happened. So, we discussed this yesterday, right? So, we agreed that it was a karma. It was just a karma that you usually play with white against me. And look what happened. I'm playing with white. c6. So let's play this without the queen on c2. Again, the same position, same pattern. And black plays in a style of Slav defense. Kind of interesting setup. So we are experimenting after all. I want to try this long diagonal. Want to use it. Want to activate my bishop b2. By all means. e5. Okay, that is very, very healthy. Approach, playing in the center against white's activity on the flank. e5, however, just made d5 less protected, so let's try to use it somehow. Maybe there is just no clear way to use this, because d5 now looks absolutely protected. Yeah, that's true. That is true. So, let's put the queen here. Maybe I will have a chance to play h4, h5, something like this. Pete Gabler says volume too quiet. Well, actually, it's not the volume. It's my voice. I'm a bit tired. I'm just doing this already for 2 hours, right? That's why probably it is a bit quiet. Sorry for this. So now goes to e4. Let's try to speak a bit louder. Needs to be louder, great master of chess. Oh, thanks a lot. I'm not great, but true, I am a master. So now I can take on d4. Looks like a pawn. Let's take it. We are getting closer. There is already something connected with the knight f6 at some point. But first, well, I wanted to run away, but there is bishop a3 check. Is it dangerous? Well, king goes to b1. I think it's not dangerous. So let's go away. Now I think it's time to play knight f6, right? Or to start with king b1. Don't know. Let's play king b1. And now it's time to play knight f6. Let's play knight f6 after all. That was a blunder, right? Gives me nothing, absolutely. My goodness, I blundered. In a position with the extra pawn already. What am I doing, huh? Who said I'm a great master? I'm just a piece of crap, look at this. We're so great position, now black is just more than fine. PT. Okay, let's try not to lose this quickly. Why did I play this knight f6? Bullshit. Whew. Yeah. But that's the last game. This makes me feel more or less fine about the level of this. You know what I'm thinking of, right? Let's take it. I know it's probably not correct at all, but it's too tempting not to capture there, especially after king f8. I can simply take on f6, right? Or not, with the bishop attacking the queen. Yep. As soon as you read Master of Chess and confirm to yourself as being a master, you make a blunder instantly. Mind plays nasty tricks sometimes. Absolutely right. But look at this. What a comeback I made. I was rewarded. Yeah, it was a very hard episode today. So I played a lot of, strange openings, strange positions, and well, I managed to win a lot of games. My sub goal today was actually to try to, not to lose each and every game. And I think I did well in this way. So, well, it's not a big deal for black to have a good position already here. I think after this knight f6 stupid idea, black had the chance to come up with a great position. So let's have a look on this. A takes b3, a takes b3 was okay. Here I think it was better for black to coordinate the pieces somehow. For example, knight e6 looked very cool. Just to prepare bishop takes c3 followed by queen a5, or maybe intending to occupy d4 square, which is a good one. So at very least after bishop d3 there is always something like knight f8, very solid move protecting h7, maybe intending to put the knight on g6 and so on. So black has a good position here, so white's pawn structure is bad and long term black is better. So everything that black has to do here It's just to prevent the attack and so on. Yeah. So thanks a lot for being with me. The next Blitz show will be this coming Friday on Chess24. So if you want to play there, you have to be a premium member. I just offer you to become a premium member because it's worth doing. There are a lot of different shows, not only mine are good ones. So the next premium show will be tomorrow, again on Chess24, Training Tuesday. As for my own broadcasts, just like this one, I'm not quite sure, so I decided to make them regularly. So during weekends, on Saturday, Sunday, Monday. But as for this coming week, I'm not quite sure because I'm going to participate in a very strong open tournament in Riga. So I'm not sure if I will have a chance, if I will have the time, if I will have the power, if I will have simply technical conditions. So once again, the best option to be notified about my further broadcasts is to subscribe to my channel and to turn on notifications. I do hope you found this useful. I do hope you learned something new about chess, about thinking process. So if you became even slightly better after this episode, I'm happy. This means I reached my main goal, so to make you learn something new about chess. Thanks a lot. Have a nice evening, have a nice week. Bye bye. See you later.